So back in 2020, I, Steven Shinder, started a podcast called Delayed Replay, recapping and reviewing the latest films. However, it got broadcast into an alternate universe where those films got delayed and came out differently from how I was describing them. Because of how me and my guests had been describing the films, people in that other universe were saying that this was all an improvised comedy podcast, which, listening back, I can totally get why they believe that. A lot of weird stuff happened in that first year, and I even met my other self from that other universe, who pops in from time to time, for better or worse. And now, in the year 2023, this podcast continues, still recapping and reviewing movies and sometimes some other things that got delayed or cancelled in that other universe. A new episode Saturdays every other week, unless I decide otherwise for some special reason or whatever. You are listening to Delayed Replay, Season 4. Hey everyone, so before the show starts, just want to give a heads up that after the discussion of Avatar 3, there will be some non-spoiler thoughts from both me and Greg about the creator, and then general thoughts from me about Rebel Moon. But yeah, Greg has since watched the movie and seems like he really liked it, gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. Says it reminded him more of Seven Samurai than of Star Wars. And yeah, maybe I'll link his review in the show notes. He did have some gripes with the effects, but anyway, there will be a little discussion of those in the episode, and then after all that, my other self will give non-spoiler review of What If Season 2, and then non-spoiler thoughts on Wonka, and then spoiler thoughts on Wonka. So without further delay, enjoy the show. Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Delayed Replay, that podcast where we recap and review movies that got delayed in that other universe but came out on time in our universe. I'm your host, Steven Shinder, and joining me once again for another film discussion, talking about the third Avatar movie, Avatar the Seed Bearer. It is Greg. Also, happy belated birthday, Greg. Did you watch anything special for your birthday?
I didn't watch anything specifically for my birthday.
Right, apart from this movie, obviously.
I watched Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's a month too late. Like, that's illegal.
They could even came up with a better title. They could just gave it like Thanksgiving. Like, kind of movies out of there just called Christmas.
Yeah.
Just the sequel's going to be like Christmas or something.
I've been hearing mixed things about it. Like, how much did you enjoy it?
I found it very gory, obviously, because it's an Eli Roth movie, so it's kind of what you'd expect.
Oh yeah, the cabin fever hostel guy, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's literally like a Scream movie, just pasted into Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, I remember reading your Letterboxd XD review about saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, bloody cat was called Dewey. I was like, well, you kind of solidified that when you did that.
Well, hey, at least they did name the cat Doofy, right?
Right.
Scary movie. Okay.
Oh
whatever,
yeah.
So.
Yeah, I watched the Scary Movie first, so when I watched Scream, I was like, oh, I know who the killer is.
Oh yeah. And you were wrong.
Yeah. I was like, oh, it's Dewey the whole time. I'm like, oh, it's not Dewey.
Yeah, I mean, Dewey does look too innocent, to be fair. So
He
it's
does,
like, yeah. But yeah, what a character. But yeah, so we're talking Avatar, the Seed Bearer. I feel like if they had delayed this film, taken more time to sit with the title,
maybe they would have realized, you know what, this is kind of a terrible title. Let's go with something else. I think that's what's going on in that other universe. But yeah, like there's a plot reason they named it this, but it's a really silly title overall.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
No.
You just
Yeah, the David Lynch thing. Okay, so the plot, some time has passed since the end of the second movie. I think they say it's been like, how many years do they say it's been? Like,
I think it was like 5 years or something. Like they've just
yeah,
been rebuilding. So
yeah,
like this is back to being normal by now.
yeah. So 5 years later, it's 2171, I think. So the Na'vi have been rebuilding, but the humans are like still around. Like there's been like a back and forth between them. Like we kind of begin with a montage of the progress of the war between them. And for a moment, it looks like the Na'vi are finally in the safe, like in the green. But then the humans attack again full force and just devastate a lot of their land again. And it really does feel Mandalore, like they just can't catch a break, you know?
Yeah, I mean they came in with like tanks and like nuclear weapons, and you're like, oh, these people don't even have guns.
Yeah. And I also feel like one of the reasons that, I guess this is an out of universe reason that they decided to devastate like the Pandora landscape is that people were drawing comparisons between how it looks and how these paintings by one of my favorite artists, Roger Dean, has made. I feel like James Cameron was like, okay, I want people to stop making comparisons, so I'll make sure that the landscape is destroyed here. But the devastation kind of ends up looking like the works of some other famous artist. Which artist was this?
I think it was Banksy. Like it was.
Yeah, it looks very reminiscent of Banksy art. Yeah, you know, you've got the there are like some white rocks and
Yeah.
the blood. Like I'm surprised they showed like this, but like there's a blood in the shape of a heart, like in one of the Banksy paintings, and there's one that looks like colorful rain against a white rock. It's really weird that they went this direction.
It's also because like, of the nuclear fallout as well. Like had all the rain fall and like the
Yeah.
kids of the weapons. Like I mean, it's not like it's the only thing he could do, but
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta wonder if Banksy. I guess James Cameron figured, well, Banksy doesn't want to reveal his or their identity or whatever, so I'll be in the clear. So, kind of a loophole there. But yeah, Pandora looks pretty barren. Like much of it looks barren. So like the Na'vi and Jake Sully and company are like, you know what, we gotta figure out like how to replant everything. So they come up with this plan to sneak into the RDA base and steal a ship so that they can go get this legendary seed from one of the other Pandora moons that would supposedly replenish the land. What'd you think of how they went about breaking into the base?
it was literally just a Mission Impossible thing. Like, have you seen the chicken nugget? What's it called?
Oh, Dawn of the Nugget. Yeah, Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw something the chicken nugget.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very reminiscent to that movie, which is obviously very reminiscent to other espionage type things. But like, you can clearly see like they're all trying to do it like stealthily, and not. I think they made it to a point where they wouldn't kill any, like not like civilians, but like just normal workers. Like they said, they wouldn't kill any of them.
Yeah, because there are some people there who are just doing it because it's their job and it's like they're not directly hurting the Na'vi, but it kind of felt like James Cameron was trying to say something about, people in the real world like work for these shady companies, but sometimes it's just because they need to make money to make ends meet, and they're not thinking too much about like what the company does, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they sneak in, and as they're going through the base trying to get to the ship, there was this video game that came out between these two movies, and it's called Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, and in our universe it came out a bit earlier, but the overall plot is pretty much the same. It follows the same Na'vi characters, but it takes place like around the time of the second movie in our universe. But here they see that video game in the base, and that's when we get the reveal of like, oh, the RDA, like, they never cared about unobtainium. They just wanted to like get as much footage of Pandora as possible to make money selling these like super high-tech video games about Pandora. So I guess Frontiers of Pandora is a video game within the movies.
Yeah, because half expecting it to be like a Ubisoft thing, because like basically, obviously the Avatar thing is like you gain control of another body, but in like Assassin's Creed, you go back in time and live as if you're someone else, but obviously you can't do anything in their body. So maybe the RDA are like trying to merge Avatar and Assassin's Creed, where you can like become like Jake Sully if you wanted to. like oh, look at this, you can become a Na'vi if you give us loads of money.
Yeah, they even have Michael Fassbender as one of the video game developers here, giving him a second chance at a video game related thing.
Yeah, because he was so well as an AI last time.
God, AI. Yeah, it also turns out that like he himself is one of the androids from the Alien franchise, because again, apparently Avatar and Alien are in the same universe because they're under Disney. But yeah, he has a different name here because he's a different android, but based off the same human.
Yeah.
What was his name here?
I think it was Timothy.
Yeah, Timothy. Yeah, so we get this fight between Jake and his fam and this android, and eventually they like behead him, and there's like disgusting milk everywhere or whatever.
Oh, look, blue milk. Because Disney and Star Wars.
Oh yeah, they made it blue because Star Wars, and also like Avatar blue, yeah. So they successfully steal a ship and go to this other moon, which on the surface, it has like an Arctic looking terrain, and they're like, how can the seed be around here? And so what'd you think of the way they what'd you think of this quest that they were on, like how they explored this moon and whatnot?
There's lots of hiking and everything, so they had a compass, and they realized that the seed was like heavily magnetic, so they're like trying to find the source, but then they realized it's like really deep down, so they had to basically do what the RDA was doing and start a mining operation on the moon, so they're becoming the villains of the movie.
Yeah, they see it in the eyes of the aliens that live here, who are like some rabbit looking, like they look like a mix between Na'vi and rabbits, but they also look like claymation, like they look like they're made of clay and whatnot. And eventually they figure out, oh, these people, they dig, and so the seed is like somewhere underground,
Yeah. Yeah, because as they get lower down, they see all these remnants of other Na'vi from the past when they have to try and find it. So it's like they weren't the first ones who tried to find the seed.
Yeah, like it felt very, I've been playing Skyrim again recently, and I know I'm playing Skyrim in 2023, like go figure, but yeah, it very much gave me those treasure hunting vibes, and how sometimes you'll see like a dead body and you'll like loot the corpse or whatever. Like they were digging the pockets trying to see if there were any useful items. What'd you think of what they ended up finding?
Like they found like not like videotapes, but like those like glass things they'd use to watch stuff on. And yeah, they watched a couple of videos of like these like different alien that was coming after them because they were getting closer and closer to the seed. That was like it's like a defense mechanism where the seed would like call towards these monsters.
Yeah, and these monsters, like they have like what's it called? They have like a link to the seed, so they look like they are made of rock and whatnot. But they also have like these really sharp teeth, and they're moving so fast. I was kind of hard to see them. Did you have that same problem as well?
Yeah, yeah, you couldn't even follow what was going on.
At one point, one of the kids, like, one of the sons gets injured, and it's like, wait, is he gone, or it's like, is he just injured? And so it got really confusing, like this whole sequence here. And I get that they were going for like an immersion thing, like, oh, this is what it's like being stuck in a cave. But I was getting really annoyed because, like, this is supposed to be like they advertise this as a visual spectacle, but here, like, you can barely see a thing. It's like super frustrating.
Yeah, it's gone from being like those falling underwater scenes to being very cramped, and it's like, well, what are you trying to show us here?
Yeah, I kind of get the vibe that, because they decided to release every other year instead of like taking more time with it, that there was like some effects work that they couldn't quite complete to the fullest. So that's why they have dark scenes like this to sort of like cut corners and whatnot.
Yeah, probably to save budget for the next film, so probably get more spectacle in the next one, or to take their break with this one.
Yeah, maybe. So they get to this stream, and like if you stand in it too long, it'll freeze you up, as evident by the frozen corpses that we see in this stream. So there's like a whole situation there, but eventually they get to like the magnetic thing that they were looking for, and they realize it's like part of the rest of the moon. And so like they have this reveal where it's like, oh shoot, the entire moon, like underneath the surface, is a seed, because they see like all the vegetation in this place, and it's like the only way to plant it is by crashing it into our own moon.
Yeah, the way they have to try to think about how they're going to do that. Like, they saw like this knight armor, like embedded in the ground, and they realized that it was like the people who not like created it, but like were the ones who forged this whole the area and kept the seed safe and out of like not like bad people's hands, but like where it could use for other purposes, because they realized that the seed doesn't only create but also destroys. So they use the night. So one of the kids put the night armor on just for the giggles, and then they realize that it's like a really powerful weapon, and they decided, oh yeah, we could use this to like blow up the moon and send the seed down to Pandora.
Yeah, because apparently this knight armor, they look at these like hieroglyphics and whatnot. And it turns out this knight that it used to belong to or whatever was called the Seed Bearer. And so, the name of whoever like forged this place. And apparently, like according to this legend or whatever, this place was forged as like, to keep things peaceful between the cold part on the surface and the hot part in the core. So there's definitely like a lot of magic at play here. But yeah, what'd you think of the sequence of events that came about after like they were like debating like whether or not they should like really do this?
Obviously, you had Jake Sully's wife.
Neytiri.
Yeah. He was like, oh yeah, we definitely shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be destroying this ecosystem. And then
very environmental message here.
And then you have Jake Sully, who was obviously part of the army, whatever they were called. He was like, oh yeah, but we got to save Pandora. So they like got into a huge fight. And then the kids were like, oh my god, stop fighting.
Yeah. They're like worried about their parents getting divorced.
They're like, who'll take the kids for Christmas?
Yeah, they had to throw in that line about Christmas because this came out around Christmas.
It's the Avatar holiday special.
Yeah. Yeah, they have this argument, and eventually, like, what the kid who was like wearing the armor was like, you know what? Screw this. So, like, he throws a tantrum and is like, just decides to like go through with like throwing this moon against Pandora, and it's like, I'm not sure about that sequence of events here. Like, he's doing this because he's upset. Like, I feel like this could have used another rewrite personally.
Yeah, it destroys a moon because of a tantrum. all those poor rabbits.
Yeah, but when the moon, as it's about to crash into Pandora, and this moon has a name, right? What was the name of this moon? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think it was Arthur. I think that's what the moon was called.
Oh yeah, it was called Arthur. Yeah.
Because it was like very Arthurian.
Yeah, really leaning into the mythologies. Because like Pandora is from like Greek mythology, I think. So I guess might as well branch out. But yeah, like as the moon's about to crash, the family gets together and they're like, no matter what happens, we are a family. And they do like this cheesy like hug thing like before the crash.
You'll stare into the camera and you'll say family.
Yeah. But as it crashes into Pandora, like there's like a little bit of destruction, but then very quickly, like the tone kind of shifts and it looks like the two moons are merging together. And so we see like everything sort of flying around and it's like sort of blending the ecosystems together to create a new moon and a new bunch of ecosystems. So what'd you think of this weird sequence here?
I think it was long. It was painfully long, I think.
Yeah, this whole sequence was an hour long.
Like that was just where all the visual budget went through. It was like all the simulations of these two moons coming together and all these new life forms appearing. It was like watching like Genesis or something.
Yeah, the band Genesis with Peter Gabriel and later Phil Collins. It kind of felt to me like James Cameron was trying to do the Titanic thing where, in that movie you see like a disaster go on for like I don't know how long it was, but it felt like,
It was at least an hour, I think.
yeah, it was at least an hour, but the pacing and because of like what's going on, it's like it doesn't feel, well, like it feels important, as you're watching it. But here it kind of feels like he's trying to do that, but with an event that looks like a disaster, but turns out to be the opposite of a disaster. But overall, yeah, I don't know. It felt like they were trying to use the music to keep people invested during this whole sequence. So what'd you think of the music here?
I can't remember who did the music for these movies.
I think it was for this one. I think it was Simon Franklin. Yeah, who took over from James Horner.
Ah, okay. Yeah, you could definitely hear some James Horner influences in there because I don't remember much of Simon Franklin. I don't know what he's done. Oh, he did Seven. I don't remember Seven for the music though.
Yeah, I vaguely remember Seven had like synth stuff here and there, but yeah, I don't remember the music very much.
They did Silent Spectre. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I guess he helped out James Horner on The Amazing Spider-Man. Okay. But yeah, the music, I feel like it did feel like this was, it had a James Horner influence, but there were also hints of like maybe the type of music they were originally considering for Avatar before like whatever the heck happened, that one video, the most ironic soundtrack of all time or whatever it's called, says happened. But yeah, the music, I feel like it was kind of all over the place here, and there wasn't really that much to latch onto, in my opinion, and it just felt like at this point the movie was kind of just having its head up its own butt and just showcasing the changing scenery just for the heck of it, like just to showcase the effects. And some parts kind of look unfinished because, again, there are only a couple years between these two films. So, yeah. But what'd you think of what was going on with the RDA? The human faction and the Colonel Avatar guy while this is all happening.
Yeah, because he's still on Pandora, isn't he? He's on his little base, and he's just seeing all the stuff like come raining down. And just like, what the hell are they doing? But like he doesn't really do anything about it though. Like he just stands there, and like come on, and he gets like all his other, like all those mech suits. He sends them all out to like try and create a force field or something. Like they like can combine to form like some huge shield, like defend the base from all these debris.
Yeah. So for a bit, it's like he's the villain again, but there is a moment where he's like, you know what, if the moons can merge into one thing and become a new thing, and if I am a human inside a Navi avatar body, I'm two different things, but maybe now I can be a new thing. And so there is a moment where he tries to like tell Jake and his fam that he's changed and he's a new man now, but then they just like imprison him because like they don't trust him right away.
The darkness is imprisoning him.
Yeah. So it looks like, like there was this battle between the Na'vi and the humans, but at the end of this thing, it feels like there's a chance for growth on Pandora once again. We see like some new environments. There are like some palm trees. There are some sunflowers. And there is like this little comment that one of the characters says about, I think Jake says like back on Earth, like there were some cities or people would take plants from other countries and plant them there, and it was kind of weird. So they kind of make a comparison there. But yeah, I don't know where they go from here. Like, I don't know if this is the end of this particular story, or because they said that the fourth and fifth one might be prequels, but I kind of wonder if maybe they'll like blend, like maybe there will be flashback stories as the current day stories continuing. So I'm curious to see like what happens from here on out, you know?
Because I don't think it like killed everyone, did it? It was just I think some people tried to escape whilst it was happening, but yeah, it was pretty much destroyed, and you had like a new ecosystem, but it wasn't really safe for the Na'vi or the people or the humans. It didn't really succeed in anything, all because this kid got angry at his parents for nearly divorcing.
Yeah, like the air is kind of barely breathable, so they're trying to figure out how to adapt to the new environment. And like some humans like try to escape like through the ships, and some are left behind. So it's like it's kind of an unknown factor at the moment, like where they go from here. Yeah, and I don't know if James Cameron is trying to give up a vibe of uncertainty, and maybe that's supposed to be like an artistic ending. But it was really weird. Yeah. Oh, also I forgot to mention, like in the tunnel, like, you know, when they saw like the dead bodies and whatnot, you could also see a xenomorph skeleton and a predator skeleton.
Of course, yeah. Forgot to mention this. I didn't really recognize them until like after the fact. I was like,
Right. Yeah. I had to like look at one of those articles where they have like a blurry screenshot and have like a red circle around the skeletons.
See, here's a xenomorph. But yeah, because it's after this, maybe they do like what happens on Earth, I guess. Because
Yeah, it's a big question mark because, like we said, they were trying to make a big damn video game, but now it's like, well, where are they gonna do now? Also, there's like a brief shot during like the 1 hour sequence you mentioned where some of the skeletons from the tunnel kind of get a little rejuvenated, and we see like the predator and xenomorph skeleton. Like there's a bit of rejuvenation there, but they cut away before we see like what actually happens. So I kind of get the sense that James Cameron was forced to throw those in because, like, you know, Disney and or Searchlight Studios or whatever really wants to like make profit off of those IPs, you know.
yeah, because they have the Fede Alvarez Alien movie coming out soon, don't they?
Yeah, Alien Romulus.
Yeah, and then they're gonna have Alien Remus after that.
Yeah, the two brothers. Yeah,
And then the Alien Roman.
yeah. There's a tree that grows that kind of looks, you know, it's a black tree and it looks xenomorph-esque. So I kind of wonder if there's like alien blood in that thing. And there's also like a predator blood green one that grows. So like I really wonder what they're going for with these new environments here.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's just a hodgepodge of weird stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, the predator plant thing, it looks like one of those Venus flytrap plants, but kind of shaped like a predator head. Yeah, it's got the fangs and stuff. So I guess this is a lot that the Na'vi and all the inhabitants on Pandora are gonna have to deal with now that it's a new world.
It didn't like Jake or Neytiri, didn't they like try to decide a new name as they were like standing in their ship, looking upon the destruction? Or didn't they come up with a name? I think.
Oh yeah, for
moon?
the new moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, they called it. They decided to name it Keith. Keith Moon.
Oh no, not Keith Moon.
Yeah, the drummer from the Who. Yeah, it was Jake's idea, of course, because like apparently he's a Who fan out of nowhere, not mentioned at all in the previous movies.
He's a Whovian as well.
Oh yeah, he's a hooligan and a Whovian.
So they're called hooligans.
Yeah, hooligans are the Who fans, and Whovians are Doctor Who fans. Although my friends Dylan and Keon prefer to use hooligans for Doctor Who fans, but yeah. So, do you have anything else you want to say about this movie before we give our final thoughts?
I think it's a bit of a downgrade from the second movie. Not sure what the end goal was, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. Like as it kept going, it got progressively decreased in quality, and it's still kind of watchable, but also like I don't really know about some of these story decisions, and yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of all over the place. So like, what's your score out of 10, a unit of measurement for that score, and final thoughts and whatnot?
Yeah, it's just the movie is a bit of a downgrade from the second movie, probably a bit rushed. Like I thought about the story a bit more. I mean, the acting and the CGI for the Na'vi and stuff is it's always going to look good. But then you had the 1 hour sequence of a moon crashing into another moon and like ecosystems and stuff. And it was like, well, you did a nature documentary with the previous movie. Now you have this weird biblical thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd probably give the movie a 7 out of 10 blue milk.
Yeah, I think you gave the previous one a 7 too, so maybe this is like a very slight downgrade, unless your opinion of the second one rose a little bit. But yeah, I think this one, for me, I'm gonna go a bit lower because sitting there for 3 hours wasn't as fun as one would hope, and yeah, it just like some of the effects were great, but others were just, you could really tell that they were cutting corners, and yeah, I don't know like what they're really going for with these next couple movies. So I think where I'm sitting, I'm gonna give this 6 out of 10 Arctic moons.
Arctic monkeys.
Yeah, Arctic monkeys. Yeah, we forgot to mention there were like some monkey creatures there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I rewatched the second movie fairly recently, so yeah, it's definitely gone up a bit. I think since my last viewing.
Okay. So yeah, thanks for joining me again, Greg. Well, I have something else that I want to like discuss real quickly, but so I know you already saw this, but I finally got around to watching The Creator since it was on Disney Plus and Hulu. What were your thoughts on the movie for listeners who don't know?
Obviously, because Gareth Edwards did. What did he do? He did
Godzilla.
I'm thinking of the wrong person.
No, he did Rogue One.
Oh yeah,
well.
he did Rogue One. Okay, there you go. Yeah, because when I was watching The Creator, I was like, oh, some stuff is very eerily similar to Rogue One. So I think he just like not made the same movie again, but like you had obviously the callback to that planet in Rogue One.
Yeah, Scarif.
Scarif was one of the destinations. But I thought, like, given the budget of the movie, it looked a lot better than the recent Marvel stuff did.
Yeah.
Like, the action looked really good, and I think the performances and what they were trying to say came across quite well.
Yeah. it definitely felt like, to me, I couldn't help thinking like this is what Rogue One would be if it were more like more recent Star Wars things where they decide, oh, let's give the guy a kid to protect. And I guess this is something that I didn't know going in, but it does kind of, I guess it has a message about oppressed minorities, but I guess you kind of piece that together as you watch. But also, it was also a kind of, I would say it was awkward that like the robots were called AI, but again, like Gareth Edwards couldn't have known that AI would be such a big issue with like AI art and other things. So it's like a different kind of AI, but it did feel kind of awkward how it has like a, oh, could we get along with these AI robot things kind of message. Like I feel like if he had hindsight, he would have given the robots a different name. But yeah, overall I thought it looked really good. I'm not sure how invested I was in the characters, like maybe not as much as I was hoping. Like after watching it, I was thinking, okay, I'm giving this an 8 out of 10, but the more I think about it, the more I wonder, did I enjoy it that much? Is it more of a 7? Because I've since watched Rebel Moon, the Zack Snyder movie, and I know you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm going to watch it soon, yeah.
Yeah, maybe after you post your review, I'll like mention in the edit like what you thought of it. But like Rebel Moon, I kept hearing it would be like terrible, but I found it watchable and it had my attention. I was watching it. I can see how it looks like a copy of certain things. Like the ship in the beginning looks like the battle droid carrier in Phantom Menace. There's a farm planet, or I guess farm moon, really. And there's a cantina, like, and this was originally pitched as an R-rated Star Wars movie. So, but I was also kind of thinking about an episode of Community. I know you haven't watched this, but there's an episode in season 6 where Abed is trying to make his own sci-fi movie, but his friends are like forcing him to rush it, and it looks like a so bad it's good, like low budget sci-fi movie, obviously influenced by Star Wars. I kind of got those vibes here, but it didn't look as low budget, but still looked like a Netflix movie in places, because you can notice like the green screen and stuff, I guess. The robots looked cool. I wish there were more robots, but maybe that'll be in part 2. And like when this was pitched as a Star Wars movie, this was before the Disney buyout, and then once Disney bought it, Zack Snyder was like, okay, there's no chance they'll do R-rated Star Wars movie. I feel like even before the buyout, George Lucas probably would not have wanted to do an R-rated Star Wars. And this is PG-13, the version that's on Netflix, but apparently there will be a director's cut at some point, maybe before part 2 gets released. But I do think if this had been a Star Wars movie, it would not have been rated R, but maybe it would have looked slightly better with the effects, but the fight sequences might not have looked the way that they do. Like even if you take out the Zack Snyder slow motion motif, like there's still stuff in the action sequences that I can't really imagine would have been exactly as they were in a Star Wars movie like 10 years ago or whatever. But I do kind of agree with people who say it might have been better received as a video game. Yeah, those are thoughts off the top of my head. Maybe I'll add a little bit more if I think more in the edit, but that's pretty much where I'm coming from. Like it's maybe a 7 out of 10. It's watchable at least. It's kind of a comfort food movie if you just want to put something on, and it doesn't have as much that frustrates me. There are a couple ick moments. Also, the villains are very obviously supposed to be like World War II Nazis, which I don't know how I feel about that. It's fine if it's an actual World War II movie, but it just feels kind of over the top and whatever. So yeah, it's pretty much my take on the whole thing.
I did want to mention one thing about the creator. When I was reading up about it after I watched it, I found out that Gareth Edwards wanted to have AI do the score in the vein of Hans Zimmer.
Oh my gosh.
But like as he was doing it, he was like, "Oh no, I need to get Hans Zimmer to do it." So he was actually going to have an AI generated Hans Zimmer score for the movie.
Damn.
So if he actually did that, I would not want to know the backlash he would have received.
Yeah. Oh, was there anything you want to plug, like the society or whatever?
No, not really. We don't really do anything anymore, do we?
Okay. All right. Well, I'll include the link for it in the show notes anyway. But yeah.
Sure.
All right. So that's it for this one. Thanks for joining me again. And without further delay, have a good day.
All right, so now the plugs in a moment, but in the meantime, just want to touch back on the Avatar music. So yeah, apparently the original intent was for the music to sound alien, and I guess it would have derived stuff from various cultures, but then after some work was done on that, James Cameron decided, you know what, this sounds too alien, let's make it more palatable for the Western audiences. So here in this third Avatar movie, there are hints of that alien feel, but it kind of doesn't go far enough or reach high enough heights. So that's the whole thing. But yeah, regarding the creator and Rebel Moon again, there's not really much more I can add, I don't think. The creator, I don't know if I explained it well enough, but I feel like it touches on xenophobia, but it uses AI as the sort of avatar for that, if you will. And again, I'm not really sure how successful that is. And Rebel Moon, again, it feels very familiar, but it's a comfort food movie. Part 2, I heard there's gonna be director's cut of part 1, which I don't know why there need to be multiple versions, but I guess people will see. And then part 2 in spring, I think it's coming out. It's called The Scar Giver. So part 1 was called, what was it? Was it Child of Fire or something? Let's see. Rebel Moon. Okay, it was A Child of Fire. So yeah, part 2 will be called The Scar Giver, which the cadence of that kind of sounds like The Seed Bearer, weirdly enough. And yeah, so I'll provide the plugs, and then my other self will give non-spoiler reviews of Marvel's What If Season 2 and the new Wonka movie. Well, new for his universe, and it's different over there from how it turned out here. And if he provides a spoiler for that movie, he'll give a warning. But yeah, you can follow me at Steven Shinder on Instagram, Twitter, Threads. Twitter, or I guess X, has been kind of better on my end recently in terms of, it still has its problems, obviously, but the algorithm has been showing me some really good Doctor Who discussion. Really loved the Christmas special, The Church on Ruby Road. Such an amazing intro to the 15th Doctor and Ruby as a team. But yeah, if you want to hear more in-depth thoughts about that, check out Trust Your Doctor. It's a Doctor Who podcast over at decorativevegetable.com, and I've been sending emails to my friend Dylan there, and if the emails get read toward the end. I also forgot to mention IPC, Intergalactic Peace Coalition. Check that out, because the latest episode, which I meant to give a shout out to this on the previous episode but forgot,
Um, they talked about Godzilla minus one and the state of Marvel and a little bit of Doctor Who, like very broad thoughts on that as well. But I also had a little cameo in one of the barbecue watch segments there, so check that out. You can also go to stevenshinder.com and Steve. Did I already say Steven Shinder Storytelling on Facebook? Maybe I did. Find my standalones and stepping stones novels over on Amazon. There's 2 of them so far. And you can also find me on Goodreads, Letterboxd, and you can email this podcast at delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on The Who. Their music, I guess. And you can also find me on Yesshift, where I actually talk about music with my dad, mainly the band Yes and people associated with it and whatnot. It's on a little bit of a break right now, but we'll be back in the new year sometime in January. So check that out. And I think that's everything on my end. So without further delay, here's the other Steven with his reviews. Hey everyone, this is the other Steven from that universe where things got delayed. So, broad, general, non-spoiler thoughts on Marvel's What If Season 2. I wasn't that excited by it. It kind of felt like it was going through the motions and maybe kind of nostalgia bait here and there. I think it picked up a bit, maybe halfway through the season when it introduced a Mohawk character named Kahori, and it was a really well done episode. Usually the art style for What If has been this strange thing where I simultaneously like and dislike it, but I was really enjoying how it looked in this episode. Maybe it's because of the setting of this one. It feels like there's more that can be done with it, whereas with the other episodes where they're basing it off of some movie settings, they kind of feel confined a bit, I guess. I also really enjoyed the episode about Hela. And again, these are a couple episodes later in the season. Captain Carter is featured in this season as well, so it's cool to see her again. But I didn't really care much for the overarching element, the overarching threads in this season. I almost feel like maybe these what if scenarios don't take big enough swings, and for the most part, like I said, the Kahori stuff was really cool, but I also kind of wish that she had gotten her own movie instead. Like, because let's face it, not as many people, I don't think, are watching this show as much as they watch the theatrical films. I could be wrong, and if I am, like, feel free to correct me, but I feel like people are less likely to check out, if they're fans of the movies, they all of them might not check out the animated series here, especially if it's like what if scenarios, and people say they want connectivity, and these kind of don't completely connect. And it's weird because audiences have been saying they want the movies to feel more connected as of late, but then got upset when the Marvels was connected to other things, so it's real weird. But overall, I think season 2 was kind of average overall. There were standout moments here and there. I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. I would kind of zone out a little bit during the action sequences, and there was plenty of action. But yeah, that's pretty much where I stand on What If Season 2. Now, the other big thing that I watched that came out for me on my end film-wise was Wonka. And growing up, I never read the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory book or its sequel, but I did watch Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I really enjoyed those growing up. With a slight preference to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I know I'm in the minority there, but I like how the Oompa Loompas sang different music styles in that one, and the family message at the end. So, in the lead up to this, I actually ended up having breakfast with family over at IHOP, and they have this Wonka menu. They have these hover chalk pancake tacos or something. These purple pancakes. They have like purple cream on them, and a couple other things. I think there's I think French toast is one of the other items. I only really ended up getting the scrumdiddlyumptious strawberry hot chocolate. As the name would imply, it's hot chocolate that's flavored like strawberry, and the whipped cream had some golden flaky things on top, so that was really good. I'd had French toast earlier that day, made by a roommate, so I already had a lot of sweet stuff in my system. I thought getting some of these other things would have been too much, so just had the hot chocolate along with an entree that wouldn't feel like too much. So that was really the only Wonka inspired item I tried, and I think I'm pretty much good with that. So the movie, I'd heard some positive reception about this movie. It's Willy Wonka, it's an origin story, it's a separate universe from the other movies. Timothy, and again, not non spoiler thoughts first. Timothy Chalamet is pretty magnetic as Willy Wonka. There are some musical moments, and it's kind of fun seeing him dance around and seeing people's reaction to that. He is a magician here, like explicitly says he's a magician. And I like how his a case that has all his ingredients and the candies, the treats, how that looks. Willy Wonka is a character where you can get away with not explaining how all these things are made. Like, yes, he does explain, oh, this silver lining chocolate was made with a cloud from this place, but you don't get into the science of how that works, and you don't need to, really. He does get milk from a giraffe. Your mileage may vary on that sequence. I'm mixed on it myself. So, Willie feels very naive in this version, and Chalamet is great at conveying that. But it does get frustrating at a couple moments where he feels too trusting of others, and it it just it kind of feeds into a subplot that I'm like a characteristic of his that I'm not really sure was needed, which later I'll get into spoilers and I'll talk about, I guess. The supporting characters I feel like didn't really stand out as much as Chalamet did. Most of them kind of felt like they were just there. There's only really one unfamiliar song that sticks out to me thinking back to the movie. It's been a few days, and yeah, like if I can only remember one of the newer songs, and I'm not sure if that's a good sign. I said unfamiliar because they do include familiar music, like little motifs here and there, and every time that happened, I was like, oh, come on. Like, it feels like, this movie is its own universe, but it also feels like it wants so badly to be the Gene Wilder movie or to remind people of the Gene Wilder movie, hence how the Hugh Grant Oompa Loompa looks, which I feel like there was like some setup there that didn't really pay off as much as one might expect. I also feel like, okay, so uh, the movie overall, I feel like it has some nostalgia bait, even though it really should have tried harder to be its own thing. So I came out of this thinking 6 out of 10 Wonka bars, but thinking back to it, I'm like, it's actually 5, so maybe I'm at like 5.5 right now. So yeah, that's not a very good score there. Pretty mediocre. And again, Roald Dahl, the author of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, he said some problematic things in his life. His family in recent years apologized for the things that he said. But even without Roald Dahl around, it still kind of feels like there's problematic stuff in this movie. And I don't know if it's just stuff that I noticed that, like, I don't know, like, it's just, I haven't really seen many people talk about this stuff. I've had a conversation with a couple people here and there, but I haven't seen a whole lot surrounding this. So this movie still feeds into the white savior trope if you really look at like how things turn out. I guess I should get into spoilers now that I've going into like more detail. So yeah, that's my verdict. You got my score. It's mediocre. I can kind of understand why people love it, but it just yeah, for the reasons I'll go into, I just like couldn't enjoy it that much. So I'm going into spoilers now. Okay, so one of the things, with the Oompa Loompas, talked about how they were depicted in the book, and it was very problematic. And again, I've never read the book, but I've seen articles about it in the illustrations, and yikes. There's also an element of, with the original Oompa Loompas, it kind of brought to mind slavery and colonialism and stuff like that. But here in this movie, I was wondering if there would be an alleviation of that sort of thing, like really trying to do Oompa Loompas better and like their relationship with Willy. And we only get the one Oompa Loompa, but pretty much they have like a little rivalry thing, like stealing from each other. Well, in Willy's case, he unintentionally stole from the Oompa Loompa island. And at the end of the movie, when Willy is deciding to open his shop, or I guess found a factory at a castle or something, and look, they even throw in an Oompa Loompa song and pure imagination, and it feels so forced and unearned. The Oompa Loompa is persuaded to work with him as a taste tester. And that's pretty much all we get of the Oompa Loompas. Like, we see a few more in the flashback where this Oompa Loompa is supposed to be guarding the cocoa beans that Willy takes, and the other Oompa Loompas, like, basically banish him until he can, like, pay off his debt by taking stuff from Willy. But I was kind of expecting that maybe those other Oompa Loompas would come back at the... Gosh, I feel like I've been saying Oompa Loompas so much and I hate it. Like, I thought they would all come back at the end, and maybe we would see that their working conditions are really good, like everyone gets paid, and maybe they're not the only workers. Maybe Willy works alongside them, really pulls his weight, and you could get the other human characters also working with him. But I guess that also wouldn't be the Willy Wonka character that people know. I think people forget how kind of villainous and creepy he comes off in other interpretations, and how he hates children from the looks of it, whereas here he is very helpful toward children. Well, particularly toward Noodle, who's this black girl who is obligated to serve the owners of this inn, I guess it is. And she tries to help Willie not be binded under contract to serve them as well, and whispers to read the small print, and he overhears that, and it looks like he's reading the contract, but then it turns out they give Willie this characteristic where it turns out, oh, he can't read, and it's like, wait, why did this need to be a thing? And well, I guess it's so that he to get around, of the contract and just having him be in this servitude type thing. It's to drive the plot, I guess, to get around, people saying, oh, the plot hole is he didn't read the contract, So I don't know if maybe something could have been done better there. But yeah, this girl who helps him, her name is Noodle, because she has this little this object from her parents that has the letter N on it. So she thinks that she thinks it's an N, and that her name has to be an N name, like a name beginning with the letter N, and later on it turns out it's a Z, and it's like, why was this needed? And didn't people reading the script notice like how awkward this would kind of be? And there's another Slugworth, one of the villains, he's black in this version, and so I was like, oh, okay, so new interpretation, this could be interesting. Because but then once it got to a part where there's this line, Noodle is told, oh, like, you were Slugworth wants to keep you from wreaking havoc in the streets, so you'll still work for us forever or whatever. And at that moment I got kind of taken out of the movie, because I was like, wait, did they make Slugworth black just so that this line delivered toward Noodle would not seem racist? And then as the movie progressed, I thought to myself, okay, surely they won't do the very easy thing of making Slugworth and Noodle related somehow, right? And then it turns out they were. Like, Slugworth is her uncle. And like I said, the N is actually a Z. It stands for a Z name for one of her parents. And, like, I feel like this subplot, it's like, what even is this subplot? It's really weird. And again, like, Willy Wonka, because of the movie and the people involved, and it feels like, the people in the town and Willy Wonka saving the day, it kind of feels like there is a white savior thing going on here, which, is also a criticism that's been leveled at the Avatar movies. So, it's a thing. And so, watching the movie and then thinking back to, like, how I was processing certain moments during the movie, and then later after the fact looking back at certain things and talking to a couple people, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth, to be honest. And it feels like it doesn't feel sweet to me. It feels like very artificial sweetener. So I was not really into this movie, and kind of sad that this was my last movie going experience of the year. But hey, there's a new year coming, hopefully better movies. I'm most excited for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Like, I've been waiting years for that. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. Hope you all enjoyed the holidays. And without further delay, see you next year.